Albagnano trashepa tuche tempe tinle yarngonda pelge drolor zampe zeparche palden lame shabla solvade Omo a guru vajradara suma timonisha sane karm uta varda nishre bar Varsa manya sarva siddhi hum. Oma guru vajradar suma timonisha sane karm uta varda nishri bad varsa manya sarva siddhi hum. Oma guru vajradar suma timonisha sane karm Uta varda nishri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum. Oma guru vajradar suma timo nishasa varda nishri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum. Pakyuke kodan dagilu Pakyuke sondan dagi nga, pakyuke tukdan dagi tenyerme chikto jingi lo. Makyuke kodan dagi lo, makyuke sondan dagi, makyuke tukdan dagi tenyerme chikto jingi lo. Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Soha Sangye Chodan Soge Chanamla Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonamgi Trola Pinchira Sangye Druparash Sangye Chedan Tsogi Chonamla Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonamgi Trola Pinchira Sangye Druparash Sangye Chedan Tsogi Chonamla Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonamgi Drola Pinchira Sangye Druparashu. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. So, Nelu tokpe shera mi dena ngechun chanchu simla komche kya sibe tsawa chepar minupe techir tenre tope tabla be. Without the wisdom realizing ultimate reality, without the mind that realizes, that has a direct experience of the true nature of reality, even though you have generated renunciation and bodhicitta, even though you have generated a state of love towards yourself and others, it is not possible to cut the root cause of samsara. It's not possible to cut the root of our suffering, which is ignorance. Therefore, strive for the method to realize dependent arising. What we have seen yesterday and today is the fact that how reality actually does exist. It is interdependent. And what is our own mode of apprehension of reality? How do we perceive reality? And what we have seen is that our normal way of perceiving reality is that we perceive reality as something that exists in an autonomous, independent, objective, inherent way. Where actually, reality is interdependent. It depends on cause and conditions, it depends on its own parts, it depends on the basis of imputation, that is the unity of parts with the value that is attributed to it with the observer. So it's not something that exists out of its own characteristics right away. Okay? So, with these two aspects, what we need to do is how do we actually generate a mind that is able to eliminate such ignorance. We need to generate the wisdom. And here we use a very basic aspect of our mind, and very powerful one, which is the fact that we are not able to think about two directly opposite things at the same time. We're not able to have two minds with two direct opposite modes of apprehension at the same time. We're not able to do that. For instance, we're not able to think, I like water and I don't like water at the same time. I can think, I like the taste, but I don't like the temperature. That's possible. But we're not able to think, I like water and I don't like water at the same time. We're able to think just one after the other. This, yes. But not together at the same time. So this brings us one very powerful aspect of ourselves, which is, if there is a state of mind that we want to change, what do we need to do? We need to generate a direct opposite mind for the one we want to eliminate. So if I want to eliminate the mind which says, I don't like water, what I need to generate? I like water. So I need to think about the qualities of water. I need to remember the positive experiences I had with water until I generate the mind, I like water. Once I get there, then what happened? The other mind is not existing at the same time. So, what is the mind that is the root of our suffering? It's the mind that grasps at reality as if it would exist out of its own characteristics in an inherent, objective way. So, what happens is that when we see anything, when we listen to anything, when we touch, when we perceive reality to any one of our six senses, it appears to us as something that exists totally independent of us. So, for example, we have a moment of pleasure and we have a moment of suffering. Normally, we connect the moment of suffering or pleasure with something. So there is an object of pleasure and an object of suffering. I look at the object of suffering and I see it as the actual cause of my suffering. Because it exists as an object generating suffering independently of anything else. It exists by its own characteristics. And it is something there that is harming me. I see something that brings me pleasure, it exists by itself, totally independently of me as an object of pleasure. So what happened? We develop attraction to one, aversion to the other. Out of attraction and aversion, what we have? Anger, hatred, nervousness, aggression, jealousy, pride, miserliness, arrogance, fear, anxiety, and so on and so on. So, making it very short, the root of our suffering is the grasping at inherent existence. It's the mind that grasps at existence as if it would exist out of its own characteristics. Okay? It's not the mind that says phenomena are not interdependent. That's way too sophisticated for our ignorance. Like if we make an example with impermanence, we can say, when we come in, for example, since I start talking now this afternoon, if I ask, has my beard grown or no, or not? If we don't analyze, what would you say? No. If we start to analyze, yes, I never saw my beard grow from one instant to the other. It's a gradual process. So, actually it is growing, but we are not able to perceive it. So the beard, as all the other impermanent phenomena, appear to us as if they were permanent, even though they are impermanent. And we grasp at it. We are not grasping at the fact that they are not impermanent. It's not that we look to the beer and we say, oh, it is not impermanent. We simply see it as being permanent. Similar to that, when we look to anything with any of our six senses, we don't have the perception, oh, it is not interdependent. It does not depend on cause and conditions. It does not depend on its part. It does not depend on the imputation of the name and the basis of imputation. That's way too sophisticated. We simply look at it and we say it exists by its own characteristics. That's how it appears to us and that's how we grasp at it. So, the antidote is a mind which is direct opposite. So what's the mind that is direct opposite to? It exists it exists objectively. It exists inherently. It exists out of its own characteristics. What's the directly opposite mind? It lacks objective reality. It lacks absolute reality. It does not exist out of its own characteristics. Okay? It does not exist inherently, which is the direct opposite way of saying it exists in an objective, inherently self-existing way. Okay? Autonomous way. So, that's why we need to generate a direct opposite mode of apprehension. And that's where emptiness comes in. Okay. So let's go. We will follow together the text of Lama Tsongkhapa. I will go a little bit more to the steps because we don't have that much time to see it. Okay. So but we are going to see all the points that we need. Kanshi korde chunam tamchigi gyunre namya luwa me donshim ngipete so kanyi kunshi ba tenyi sange gebe lamla shu nawa tendre luwa me badan tomba kelen chalwe kowani jisi susor nawa tesitu tadon tube gomba tokpa me namshi rejo me bar chikchartu tendre milor tonwa tsamnine ngeshe yugi zindan kunshi na tetse tawe cheba zopa la. Those who perceive the inevitable nature of cause and effect of all phenomena of samsara and nirvana and totally destroy the grasping mind's object of perception, have at the time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas. So here, we enter into understanding what is the antidote to eliminate our own ignorance. The mind of ignorance is the mind that grasps at inherent existence. Okay? So the mind grasping at inherent existence is the mind through which reality appears as existing out of its own characteristics, as existing in an autonomous, independent, inherent way. Not only it appears in that way, but we grasp at it also as existing in such way. Okay? So we need to generate an opposite mind. The mind that realizes that it lacks inherent existence, that is not in that manner. So what do? We need to deconstruct it. One important thing to understand when we talk about emptiness is a negation. The actual definition of emptiness is this is the definition of space, is gakcha kaktsam gimega. Gakcha kaktsam gimega is the simple non-affirmative negation of the object of negation. So, first of all, what's the difference between an affirmative negation and a non-affirmative negation? An affirmative negation is a negation that brings to an affirmation. So, for example, if I say, today I will not eat, what is the affirmation that comes out of that? Another day I will eat. I'm not eating today, but on another day I will eat. Today I will not come means another day I will come. But if I only say, I will not eat, I'm not saying that I will eat another day. I'm simply saying I will not eat. There is nothing more. So, today I will not eat is an affirmative negation. Today I will not eat, today I will not eat is an affirmative negation. I will not eat is a non-affirmative negation, because we simply negate something without making any other affirmation. Okay? So, there is a long discussion to understand if emptiness is an affirmative negation or if it's a non-affirmative negation. Okay, in the time of Lama Tsongkhapa, there have been long debates about that. We don't even enter into that point right now. We just take the conclusion of Lama Tsongkhapa in which we say emptiness is a non-affirmative negation. Whenever we talk about a negation, we need to think there are three parts. There is the basis of negation, Tongshi Chöchen. There is the actual negation, Gakpa. And there is the object of negation, Gakche Che. Okay? So, for example, the book, it's empty of inherent existence. What is the basis of negation? The book. Because to say that something is empty, there must be the something on which I would do the negation. That's called the basis of negation, Tongshi. The basis of emptiness, the basis of negation. So the book, it's empty of inherent existence. What's the basis of negation? The book. The negation, it's empty. It's empty of what? Of inherent existence. Okay, that's the object of negation. The definition of emptiness is always the same according to different traditions. It's the simple non-existence of the object of negation. What changes from every different philosophical school is the actual object of negation. Okay, but we are making it simple today. So what is our object of negation? Inherent existence. Our object of negation is inherent, autonomous, self-existing existence. Okay? Objective existence. That's our object of negation. Why do we need to generate the mind that realizes the lack of inherent existence? Because the root of our suffering is the mind that grasps at inherent existence. So we need to generate a direct opposite mode of apprehension. So what's the direct opposite mode of apprehension? It lacks inherent existence. So, if we look at the book lacks inherent existence. The book is of the nature of emptiness. The book, it's empty of inherent existence. Why? Because it is interdependent. Why is it interdependent? Because it depends on causes and conditions, it depends on its own parts, and it does not exist independently of the basis of imputation and the imputation of the name. So if we go to look for the book, what is a book? Finally, we will find out that a book is nothing more, nothing less than a name attributed to a unity of parts. Okay? So we attribute to this unity of parts the name book, and that's where the book is. That's why the book is interdependent. The book depends on parts, depends on the name, depends on cause and conditions. It depends on many aspects. That's why the book is interdependent. How would it be if the book was of inherent existence? It would be the same for everyone, and it would never change, basically. Is there any book like this? No. So what happens is that the book lacks inherent existence, is empty of inherent existence, of objective existence. Why? Because it is interdependent. Why can the book be interdependent? Because it is empty of inherent existence. They are complementary. The lack of inherent existence and interdependence are complementary. It's like in the Heart Sutra when we say emptiness is form, form is emptiness. Okay? Appearance, interdependence lacks inherent existence. The book is of the nature of emptiness because it's interdependent. It is interdependent because it's of the nature of emptiness. One brings the other. We are talking actually about the same thing. Okay? If we try to simplify a little bit more, we could somehow say all phenomena, we exist in a objective or in a subjective reality. Subjective reality. So we could say we exist in a subjective reality. What is our ignorance? To perceive the subjective reality as if it was objective, and to grasp at an objective reality of something that is actually subjective. Okay? So, what's the ignorance? The grasping of objective reality of something that is actually subjective. So what is the emptiness here? The reality, the subjective reality is empty of objective reality. So, what is the correct view? That the subjective reality is subjective. In other words, I can say the subjective reality, it's empty of objective reality. Why? Because it is subjective. It's like saying the book, it's empty of a permanent reality. It's not permanent. It's empty of being permanent. Why? Because it is impermanent. Okay? it's important for us to understand why do we need to make the negation? Why do we need the emptiness? Because we need to go against the mind that grasps at inherent existence. There is one more point which I want to bring here, which is a little delicate, but it's important for us to see. In the moment that I look at the book, and I analyze, and I look, where is the book that appears to me as being so solid and existent? No? Or we take the example of the bell that we did before. When the bell appears to us, how does it appear to us? As being something inherently existent or as being something interdependent? How does it appear to us? As being something of inherent existence, right? So when I go and I look and where I say, where is this inherently existing bell? And we go to look for it. Finally, what happens? We cannot find it. So in the moment that we cannot find it, the only thing that remains to us is the lack of inherent existence. Making another example is that if I look at the book and I see how many possibilities exist at the same time here, infinite realities. So we choose one of these possibilities, okay? In the moment that we understand that infinite possibilities exist at the same time, and we open our mind for that, and the one that we choose is nothing more, nothing less than one of infinite possibilities, we are not able anymore at the same time to see the possibility that we have chosen. We are not able to put the two things together. Why? Because when we say book, it already comes with the idea that it exists intrinsically. When we say bell, it already comes with the idea that it exists intrinsically. In our own mental game, we are able to say, yes, the bell lacks inherent existence. But when we really analyze and we really look at it, the name bell already comes with the idea of intrinsic existence. That's why in the moment that we understand and we perceive the lack of inherent existence, we cannot perceive the basis of emptiness anymore, which is the book or which is the bell or anything else. So that's why in the moment that we experience the lack of inherent existence, there is nothing more to the mind than the actual lack of inherent existence. Only a Buddha can put the two things together. That's one of the main qualities of a Buddha. A Buddha is the one that perceives relative truth, interdependence, and absolute truth, emptiness, as one. There is no more difference. In other words, a Buddha is the one that can at the same time see the book and see that there are infinite possibilities at the same time and see all the other possibilities in the same level as he's seeing the book. But one thing is not taking away the other, because we are talking about the same reality. The only reason why we make this distinction between relative and absolute is because we live in a dual mind. We live in duality. A Buddha doesn't make any more difference between relative and absolute truth. It's all the same. Because why it is interdependent? Because it lacks inherent existence. Why it lacks inherent existence? Because it's interdependent. We are talking exactly about the same thing. And so, yes, does the book exist? Yes, but it exists as being interdependent. That's all. In the moment that we can truly realize this, there is no more difference between it being of emptiness or being interdependent, which means the relative aspect and the absolute aspect, they're actually the same. Okay? So as Lama Tsongkhapa says here, those who perceive the inevitable nature of cause and effect, which means the interdependence, those who perceive the interdependence of all phenomena of samsara and nirvana, those who perceive the interdependence of everything that is pure and impure, totally destroy and, at the same time, totally destroy the mind, totally destroy the grasping mind's object. What's the grasping mind's object of perception? Inherent existence. That's the ignorance. What's the object of that the ignorance is grasping at? Inherent existence. Okay? Which doesn't exist, but that's what it grasps at. Okay? So, when we are able at the same time to perceive the interdependence and to eliminate the grasping at inherent existence by realizing the lack of inherent existence, who does that have at that time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas. As long as the two realizations of appearance, as long as the two realizations of appearance, sorry, there is here, maybe looks like something's little missing. As long as the two realizations, that of appearance, the ineffability of interdependence, and that of emptiness, the freedom from assertion, are considered separate, there is not yet realization of the thought of Buddha, of the capable one. Which means, as long as the two realizations, what are the two realizations? Interdependence and emptiness. If they are considered as two separate things, we are not realizing the thought of Buddha Shakyamuni. So, as I say, as long as the two realizations, that of appearance, the infallibility of interdependence, and that of emptiness, the freedom from assertion, are considered separate, there is not yet a realization of the thought of the capable one of Buddha Shakyamuni. When these two realizations, that of interdependence and that of emptiness, exist simultaneously without alternating, and merely seeing the infallibility of interdependence completely destroys the way all objects are apprehended as being truly existent, then the analysis of the ultimate view is indeed complete. Which means, if we take, for instance, the book, in the moment that I see the book is interdependent, wow. So if the book is interdependent, it cannot be of inherent existence. Okay? So I take, for instance, the book depends on causes and conditions. The book depends on its own parts. The book exists as a simple name, book, concepts as functions and characteristics attributed at a unity of parts. So this is how the book actually exists. And because it exists like that, it cannot exist out of its own characteristics. Because it exists in dependence with the observer and its own parts. So, the book is interdependent. And why? So because the book is interdependent, the book lacks inherent existence. When we have put the two things together and one brings to the other, if it lacks inherent existence, it must be interdependent. If it's interdependent, it must lack inherent existence. When one is bringing to the other, then the analysis of the view is actually complete. Okay? So, furthermore, Shenyang, Nawe Yota Selwadan Tombe Meta Session Tombani Gudan Rebu Charwet Sulshena, Tarzin Tawe Tropper Miguro. Furthermore, appearance eliminates the extreme of existence, and emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence. Which means, furthermore, appearance means interdependence. The realization of interdependence eliminates the extreme of existence. What is the extreme of existence? Eternalism. The idea that things exist independently of the observer. Okay? That's what most of us have. Then, what eliminates eternalism? Interdependence. Because if something is interdependent, naturally it cannot exist out of its own characteristics, out of its own self. It cannot be of inherent existence. On the other side, emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence, which is nihilism, the idea that nothing exists. Why? Because if it's empty, it must exist. In other words, this is very beautiful because it shows to us that when we see interdependence, how things are, it naturally brings us to see that things are not as solid as they may appear. And when we see emptiness, the way how things are not, we see how they actually are and how they actually exist. Okay? Because it lacks inherent existence, so it exists. I don't know if it's obvious, this is so simple. There is one thing in which I don't remember which master said, For whatever emptiness is right, everything can be right. For whatever emptiness can exist, anything can exist for what emptiness can exist. Anything that can be of the nature of emptiness can exist. Kang la tompa ni runwa, tela tamche runwardyur. If you take anything and you say, is it of the nature of emptiness? Yes, then it exists. If it's not of the nature of emptiness, it cannot exist. So, the point here is that interdependence brings us to the perception that reality is not as solid as it appears. And emptiness brings us to the conclusion that reality does exist in an interdependent way. And these two must come together. Okay? If you realize how emptiness manifests in the manner of cause and effect, if you realize the way how emptiness is interdependent, then you will not be taken by wrong notions, holding extreme views. In other words, emptiness, it's interdependent. Interdependence is also empty of inherent existence. Okay? But the emptiness itself, is it interdependent? Yes. In other words, is the emptiness empty of inherent existence? Yes. Okay? So, appearance means how things exist for us, which means appearance refers to interdependence. Okay? So, appearance refers to interdependence. So the point here is that appearance refers to how things exist and how they appear to us. Because emptiness does not appear to us. Everything that we see is appearance, but it is actually everything that appears to us is interdependent. Okay? And it does exist in an interdependent way. The important thing here for us is that it's not a very simple process of understanding. And the question that many of us may make is, okay, maybe I got something? No, it's not obvious to get these points. No, I hope that as we go through, we can understand that interdependence and emptiness are two sides of the same coin, which is not obvious to understand, but I have been trying my best to induce into that understanding. But the question that we make is, okay, but how do I practically use that to eliminate my own ignorance? How do I use that in a practical level? Okay? Let's go through it then. So, how do we actually put into practice the correct view of reality? How can we do actually to realize it? Okay? One of the beautiful things of the teachings is that they come in a very practical way, and there are very specific steps to follow. So let's see what are these steps that we need to follow. Basically, to realize emptiness is divided into 3 steps, which is the step of developing 3 wisdoms: the wisdom of listening, the wisdom of comprehending, and the wisdom of meditating in order to realize. It's the 4th step, let's say. Okay? So let's see one by one. The first one is the wisdom of listening. We realize the wisdom of listening about emptiness in the moment that we have what is called a correct assumption, which is a correct assumption in Tibetan is said, is the certainty about something that is not based on a direct experience or on a logical reasoning. So, in other words, when do we realize the certainty about emptiness? When we recognize the object of negation. When we are able to see, oh, that's inherent existence, and that's not true. When we are able to see that inherent existence is fake, it doesn't exist. We don't know exactly why, we don't know exactly how, and we have never had an experience about it, but we are sure that phenomena lack inherent existence. When we are sure about that, this means we have got the first realization about emptiness. So for many of us, I think somehow we are there. Okay, if not there, not far. Because if we ask, oh, is the book of inherent existence or does it lack inherent existence? What would we say? It lacks inherent existence. We are sure about it. So when we are sure about emptiness, yes, it lacks inherent existence, and we know what we mean by inherent existence, and we are sure it lacks, but we don't know exactly yet why, and we don't know exactly how come, and we have never had a direct experience about it. That's when we have realized the first level, which is the wisdom of listening. The second level, once we have got there, we need to go to the second level, which is called the wisdom of comprehending. Samjungishera. The wisdom of comprehending, it is when we develop the so-called Jepatsema, the inferential valid cognition on emptiness. An inferential valid cognition is when we perceive something in a correct way based on logics. For example, behind the mountain, there is fire. And I can perceive the fire behind the mountain. Why? Because I can see the smoke. And I know that wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So, can I see the fire directly with my eyes? No, but can I perceive the fire? Yes. Why? Because I know that wherever there is smoke, there is fire, and I can see smoke. So I say, there is smoke, there is fire behind the mountains. Why? Because there is smoke. Okay? So, similar to that, when we get to develop the wisdom of comprehending, is where when we have the total certainty about emptiness, without needing to say someone said it to me. I am sure it, without any doubt by myself. So I would say the book. Does the book lack inherent existence? Yes. Why is the book empty of inherent existence? Because it's interdependent. That's obvious. Because if something is interdependent, it cannot be of inherent existence. It must be empty of inherent existence. So when this logic is clear for us, and when we look that when I say the book lacks inherent existence, it's empty of inherent existence because it's interdependent, the book that I mean is not the generalized book. It's the book that I perceive and that appears to me as being of inherent existence. So the book, it's empty of inherent existence, is of the nature of emptiness. Why? Because it's interdependent. And anything that is interdependent cannot be of inherent existence. Okay? So it's like, why I know that it's fire? Because I see the smoke. And wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Why I know it lacks inherent existence? Because it's interdependent. And something that is interdependent cannot be of inherent existence. Okay? So when the logic is clear, when we look at anything, it appears to us as being of inherent existence, and then we say, no, but it's not of inherent existence. It's empty of inherent existence. Why? Because it's interdependent, and it makes the whole sense that if something is interdependent, it cannot be of inherent existence. When this is clear, it's obvious for us. We go through the logics, we perceive, we understand it, then we have realized the wisdom of comprehending emptiness. Okay. Third step, the wisdom of meditating. Remember that up to now, the object of our perception is not emptiness itself, somehow yes, but the direct object, indirectly, is emptiness. The direct object is the mental image of emptiness. It's like when I perceive the fire that is behind the mountain, what is the direct object of perception? The actual fire or the mental image of the fire? The mental image of the fire. Am I perceiving fire indirectly? Yes, because there is fire. And when I tell you, call the firefighters because there is fire behind the mountain, am I correct? Because there is smoke? Yes, I am correct. But even though my object of perception directly is just a mental image of fire. Okay? Similar to that, when I say the book, it's empty of inherent existence because it's interdependent, my object of perception is still the mental image of emptiness. That's the process. That's part of the process. Now I need to meditate on that. So how do we do this? Basically, okay, first we need to sit down, make some breathing exercise, bring our mind to a state of calm, take refuge, do Guru Yoga, request the blessings, preliminaries. Then when we are there, we come down, we do again some more breathing meditation, request the blessings. Then the first step that we do an analytical meditation. So we take anything, for instance, the book. We need to remember, whenever we meditate on emptiness, we need to meditate to the emptiness of something. Something must be of the nature of emptiness, not just the emptiness. So the book, the table, my feelings, my anger, my mind, whatever, okay? Let's start with something easy, the book. So the book, it's empty of inherent existence. So how do I meditate on that? Sit down. First, I analyze it, and I make like if I was explaining to someone else why the book lacks inherent existence. And I just make the whole process just as if I need to convince someone about it. And I go on, and I may go through all the points and the logics, yes, because the book depends on cause and conditions. It depends on its own parts. There are the cover, there is the cover, there are the pages, there are the words, and so on. The book is nothing more than the name, a book, which are functions and characteristics attributed to an unity of parts, and so on. When we get to that conclusion, we stop there. We take the mind of analysis, we put it by side, and then we just let our mind in its natural state as we look and observe the book. We relax, we stop analyzing. And we let the perception of the book come to us, in the sense that the book appeared to us. How does it appear to us? As existing inherently. And we let the mind that grasps at the book as existing inherently to appear naturally. We should wait until the right moment until we bring back the analysis, okay? It's like if I need to catch someone, I need to wait him to be very near to me before jumping on him, okay? If I jump too early, he escape away. So I need today, and I let the mind that grasps at inherent existence to come stronger and stronger and stronger. And then when it's there in front of me, grasping at the book as being of inherent existence, then I come with the whole analysis that I did before, and I come and say, what is going on there? How come the book is appearing to you? Where is this inherently existing book? Does it truly exist? Let's look for it. And then we bring back our analysis, but we are not analyzing something conceptual. We are analyzing actually our own perception. And we are saying the book doesn't exist as it appears to you. This inherently existing book that you are perceiving don't exist. Why? Because it's interdependent. And we go through the whole logics until we are able to get to the conclusion, yes, wow, it lacks inherent existence. So that inherently existing book doesn't exist. So it lacks inherent existence. And when we get to the conclusion of the emptiness of inherent existence, we just stick to it. We remain with our mind on the simple negation of inherent existence. And we remain in that state for as long as we can. When we develop a single-pointed concentration on the lack of inherent existence, and by the single-pointed concentration, free from any mental dullness or mental agitation, and this brings us a state of pleasure to body and mind, means shamatha, we have developed the wisdom of meditating on emptiness. Then we move on. The next step is to develop vipassana, which means as we focus our mind single-pointed on the lack of inherent existence, a little part of the mind comes out and starts analyzing how come it's empty of inherent existence. Makes the analysis again. Okay? And then we keep this for a long period. Remember that up to now, our object of meditation indirectly is emptiness, but our direct object of meditation is still the mental image of emptiness. Okay? So, as we continue to meditate on emptiness through a mental image, as we go on in a single pointed way, gradually emptiness and the mental image, somehow the distance gets less and less and less and less and less, until there is a moment where we develop a direct valid cognition on emptiness, which means it's a non-conceptual experience of the lack of inherent existence. And this is the actual realization of emptiness. When the practitioner reaches that level, he realizes emptiness, and then that's when he gets out of samsara by eliminating actually ignorance. After that moment, the grasping at inherent existence doesn't exist anymore because there is a direct, valid experience of the lack of inherent existence. When the practitioners get out of meditation, the appearance of inherent existence is still there. Then he needs to meditate again and again, induce himself many times into the experience of the direct experience of the lack of inherent existence until he reaches a moment in which there is no more the appearance of inherent existence and sure no more the grasping at inherent existence. That is so-called enlightenment. Okay? Just to make a timeline, to realize emptiness is 1/3, to eliminate the appearance is 2/3 of the process. Okay, a good thing of it is that after the first third of the process, there is no more suffering. Okay, but there is still a long way to go. Okay, which is there is 1/3 of the process is to eliminate ignorance by having a direct realization of emptiness, and the other 2/3 of the process, it's actually, which is we call the 10 bhumis, is actually to eliminate the imprint of ignorance, which is the appearance of inherent existence. First, we eliminate the grasping at inherent existence. Second, we eliminate the appearance of inherent existence. And when we eliminate both, we reach enlightenment. Okay? So, what we have here is the pathways to go to enlightenment. You know, as Lama Tsongkhapa said, you know, in verse 10, those who perceive the inevitable nature of cause and effect of all phenomena of samsara and nirvana and totally destroy the grasping mind's object of perception, those that are sure that everything is interdependent and because of that it lacks inherent existence, have at the time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas, have at the time entered the path to enlightenment. You know, it's so special. The simple fact, which is not that simple, that we can have a perspective of the path to enlightenment. It's already so special. Okay? So, this is something which is very important for us to understand. So how do we apply this to our life now? We need to have a better understanding about emptiness. We need to reflect more upon it until we have no more doubts about it. And then we need to meditate. We need to familiarize, both to single-pointed meditation, which is very important, but also in our daily life, looking at things. We look at something, an object of anger, then we look at it and say, no, it is not really so solid as it exists. Remember how it is interdependent. Then reflect upon the interdependence of the object of anger. Then reflect upon the interdependence of the object of desire, of attachment, of fear, of anything. And the more we do, the easier it becomes, the more present it becomes in our life. The very important thing is that we need to deconstruct our own grasping at inherent existence and not something which is far away, idealized somewhere. It's my own grasping at inherent existence that I need to deconstruct. Okay? And when we do that, we are truly on the correct path. So concluding, Lama Tsongkhapa said, in this way, when you have realized the crucial points of the three principal aspects of the path, seek solitude and generate the power of enthusiastic effort. You will quickly accomplish your final goal, my child. Which means in the moment that we understand what means to love ourselves, what means to love others, what is the correct view of reality, what we need to do about it, get free from many of the distractions. Put our energy in accumulating merit, eliminating our negativities, familiarizing ourselves, meditating, familiarizing ourselves with love, compassion, and wisdom. That's our goal. And we need to remember one thing. It's not easy to develop wisdom and to realize emptiness. It's not easy to change our paradigm. So we need a lot of strength and determination to do that. And what is going to give us such strength and determination is love and compassion. It's love and compassion for others that gives us the strength. That's the engine that gives us the strength to go. Because maybe we say, okay, for ourselves, okay, I'm quite well, wipe myself off, okay? I don't need all it's too complicated, this emptiness, forget about it. But when we truly look at other sentient beings and we see the suffering and we deeply want to help them, we see there is no way out other than realizing the true nature of reality, because that's what creating suffering in everyone. And how can I help someone to develop wisdom if I am myself completely in the middle of ignorance? I must realize that. And that's why I will gradually, daily put effort in that. Okay? And for some of us, it may seem like, oh, it's too far away. That's not true. The point in which we are now, it's already very good. Okay? From the whole process, the first process, we are almost there, which is having a certainty of it. Then we have the process of comprehending. Then it's just a matter of us gradually applying to our daily life. And okay, need to sit down and meditate also, but we need also to apply it to our daily life. And that's how gradually we get more and more and more familiar with the whole concept and the whole thing. And as a minimum, gradually we make our suffering to become less and less. And that's already something so powerful and so beautiful to do. Okay? So we need deeply to rejoice about this. It's so special. And it makes me very, very happy that we had the opportunity these 2 days to talk about this subject, which is, for me, is the key for all qualities. For example, in the moment that we develop the understanding of emptiness, and we look to someone that doesn't have the realization of emptiness, we have more compassion. Because say, oh, look at that poor guy, he haven't understood yet how things are interdependent, he's suffering so much out of that. I love you, so what I want for you? To realize emptiness, to realize interdependence, because I want you to be happy. We go into a deeper level of this. Once we truly realize the lack of inherent existence, a very simple way of seeing if we have realized or not. Do we still get angry? Do we still have jealousy, pride, miserliness? Yes, so we are still on our way, okay? We haven't got there yet. When we see that we do not perceive the objects of anger, jealousy, pride, and so on as something solid, because they are interdependent. The anger, these feelings, they cannot sustain anymore. Okay? So the more we meditate on emptiness, the more we follow the law of karma, the more we have a more coherent attitude with positive emotions and so on, the less we act with anger, jealousy, pride. That means we are going in the correct direction. Okay? But just to remember, the process of understanding and realizing emptiness is a lifetime goal. And it's not of one lifetime. It's many lifetimes process. And that's okay. And that's beautiful. But we need to take the opportunity now that we have all of this, How many people in the world that we think actually stop to reflect about the meaning of reality? Let it be if they are reflecting it correctly or not. How often that happens? Very rarely. And that's the basis of life. That's the basis of the way how we live. That's the basis of our behavior, of our experiences, is our view. And we never even stop to think about that normally. So look how fortunate we are. So we must use it in the best way. Okay? And rejoice. We need to rejoice about this precious wonderful opportunity. And at the same time, don't worry, we are going to talk about that many times more. So we have many, many more times to listen and to comprehend and understand it better. Okay. So I'd just like to say that we have had many opportunities of teachings and sharing about the correct view of reality. Like last summer, we had the teachings on the question of Lama Tsongkhapa and answer of Panchen Losang Chogi Gyaltsen. We have had the teachings on the discussion between wisdom and ignorance. We have had the teachings on this Heart Sutra. So let's not let this subject of emptiness just get cold. No? And we need to keep it alive in our daily life. By reading texts, by meditating, by listening to teachings, we keep it alive. Ok? Quindi questo è tutto, facciamo le dediche finali. Jetsun lame kutse raptenchi namkar tinle cholchur gepadang losan tempe drume sasumgi drove musel tatu ne gyurchi Yanda tawa rinpoche ma ke panam ke gyurchi Kepa nyampar me payang kongne conto pelwareshu. Possa la preziosa, corretta visione della realtà che non è ancora nata sorgere e crescere. Possa quella che è nata non degenerare e crescere sempre più. Nimo dele zendele Nime kuyan delekshin Nintsen taktu de Sumki jingilo Concho sumki Ngodrubutsol Concho somki trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Mime cerve tercenceresi Dime kempe wampo jampeliang Du pomalu jomse sangwedan kanchen kepe sogen songkapa Shabla solvade. Taşıdılım.